commission meeting, and let's see. We have a call to approve the minutes from the March 18th meeting. A motion.
Second it, or did you make a motion?
Ask if someone wants to-
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, and then well, first off, was there anything anyone wanted to bring up from the minutes from March 18th? Any follow-up? Okay. All right. Then Bryce, we want to hear about renovation.
Great. I've got two quick presentations today, back to back. If you're okay, I just put them all in one slideshow. So we are, if you want to go to that first one, Mike, we are in it, as they say. So it's not quite the fun part, but we are definitely dealing with some of the behind the scenes renovations. Some of it is what we're doing. Some of it is just experiencing what it is to have half of your HVAC and power and water supply ripped down next to the building. And so every day we come in, and I think we have counted 5 biblical level events. We have had, I put the whole list on here, but our elevators were down for 2 weeks. We had fire suppression systems, we had flooding, we had termites that were eating through the concrete.
Really?
And
I had famine because Diet Coke went over.
yeah, Diet Coke is
that is
gone.
bad.
Yeah,
There we
so we're there. But generally, what's good is I think most of it is only stressing out staff. Hopefully, the patrons are able to come in, and so we'll sort of talk about that.
I wasn't stressed. I loved carrying books up and down the stairs for 2 weeks.
We just put a cart
your
there and everyone
steps
just
in.
grab 5 books at a time. So we got the bid back from Layton Construction since we last met. The bid for the total renovation project ended up being about $2.2 million. We had originally budgeted 1.6, but some of the scope creep was intentional by us. We don't think we got bad pricing or anything like that. And some of it was related to costs incurred, again, that we don't control. When they rip down the face of the building that was connected to a hallway, we have to put something on it. So there's some of these costs that we felt very good about. We have now gone through the value engineering process with our Architect Method Studio as well as with Layton to sort of discuss the bids. And we now have, and then we were able to identify and secure some additional funding. So we now have enough money in our account to pay for the project as designed going forward. There was only a single change on the interior design building. We had a sink, and Julie, I might look at you. My understanding was that we were okay losing the sink in the workroom, and so now we no longer have a sink.
Yeah, I mean, there were some concerns about losing it, but the space is tight, and there was concerns that water would splash and books would be damaged while they were being processed or checked in, and so they felt it was better to find other ways to bring water back to the work area.
Yep. So that was the only value engineer on the interior of the building. On the exterior, we had a lot of value engineering on the stairs that are just behind us, what is currently the grass hill. There were some structural things they could do there. There were 2 pieces that were identified that we could buy and install later, large, massive metal living sculptures that will provide some shade down and up. Super cool features. We can just buy those on our own next year, the year after, or we can identify other ways to create shade and go from there. So the greenhouse itself, as well as the stairs, remain basically as designed, which we were thrilled to not value engineer our way out of a workable workspace or something like that. So overall, I feel really excited about that. There has been some additional, again, the additional scope creep on the courtyard behind us. We are having to put in 2 sumps because of the engineers, and because of that we are losing 2 additional trees. We had hoped to only lose 2 trees. We are losing 4 trees. We are planting all of them back. But when we had that flood event last August, we learned about some of our capacity for water. And so while we're doing this, it's like you never want to lose trees, but we have things that basically we have to scrape the entire back half and dig down these massive sump drains and do all of that. And so that's been identified and will happen as well with the project. The final inside work is sitting with our permitting department right now. Once that is approved, Layton will give us a schedule for when they will close up our front entrances and everything like that. Because of that, we have now finished as of today at noon, the new side entrance on the north part of the building. There is a functioning door over there. It is not yet ADA compliant, so we can't shut these off until they install the sensors. But that is there, that will be there forever, and it will connect better to that big grassy area, which we hope to activate as an additional programming space once we can sort of fence it off from the outside world and make it only accessible from the children's library in the future. Additionally, like I mentioned, our elevators have been shutting down. Our fire suppression system has required us to go on what they call fire watch. We had flooding from a mist-capped water line as part of the concrete pours. So our media, you can stop by on your way out of here in the back right. It's beautiful sheeting. We are a huge credit to our...
It's a nice little musty odor as well.
Yeah,
It's
you're
very
just working through some stuff. I honestly think it's a blessing in disguise. As ServPro was ripping stuff out, and as Angie and the entire shelving team was moving stuff on a busy Friday afternoon, I did not think that at the time. But if you had to choose when to find termites and mold and have to rip out drywall, would you do it right before or right after the $2 million renovation? This feels the right thing to do, the right order, given the other options. So glad to have found it. We're identifying a couple of other, 55-year-old building type things like that. But generally, the project moves forward. Interior start date, I would guess 2 to 3 weeks when we close off our front entrances. That is all dependent on when we get the permit from our building development department. The exterior, the grubbing, we'll scrape it down to a construction site, will be done in-house by our public works team, one of our value engineering solutions, instead of paying a contractor. They anticipate that beginning week after next. Obviously project dependent on their regular workload, but we will have fencing up and tractors in here, and they will be getting it ready. Staffing mitigation, shout out to our library team. Their goal is to make it as uninconvenient as possible for those that are here to visit the library. We have a concierge desk which sits right out front. Our holds area has moved. On Thursday, our circulation desk moves. We have the wayfinding team. We are doing as much as possible so that when you get to the front door of the library, instead of having to go and find out the thing that you were looking for is moved, hopefully a staff is there, they will walk you to it. It's definitely more expensive for us from a staffing perspective, but feels the right thing to do for the duration of the project so that it goes well. We also have several of, Meg will tell you about summer reading. We have moved as much as possible away from the library for the summer reading program. I know that's less convenient, it's tough on our staff, it's tough on parents, but given that there's so much we don't know about what library space will look like day to day, we think it's just better to use our parks, our pavilions, the Hillcrest Center, other places around Orem to deliver on that, so we'll talk about that. We have moved the holds, the new circ desk on Thursday. We've even talked about, can we extend checkout times, can we cancel late fees, what payments do we just not absolutely have to take so we don't have to have more credit card terminals. We are really limited by the number of IT access points, connections at certain places. And so if you have a kiosk to check out books, it takes 1. A kiosk to check out books plus a credit card reader, it takes 2. If you have a computer station there, it takes 1. A computer station with a printer that's on the network, it takes 2. If you don't daisy chain your phone, it takes 3. And we don't have that luxury. So we are going to be doing several things that hopefully, it's not as simple as just moving your computer. We have some of this network stuff that just can't move, and so making some changes there. But we think we will be able, with a couple of 1-day, 2-day exceptions, be able to stay open all summer long, get people in and out, have story times, have programs, have an incredible summer reading, have events at Library Hall, and we'll just have to do a little extra song and dance. So any questions on our renovation, our timelines? Have you heard feedback from the public where they came in super frustrated and we missed something? Anything like that?
No, you people out front were really good.
Love
They
that.
came in and where's the hole?
Have each of look at our staff here, have each of y'all taken a minute on the concierge desk? If you haven't, I recommend it. It's way fun, and you just get to talk to people who come to the library. Any other thoughts on that?
If you don't have credit card readers, a summer of free DVDs.
Honestly,
from the library,
heavily discussed, yeah. It takes a lot of money to make such little money.
Yeah, it does, right?
Spending $1,000 to make $100. So.
Exactly.
All sorts of investment advice from Bryce today. Okay, anything else on that? When we meet next, I think we'll be deep into it. So that'll be fun to see 6 weeks from now or whenever our next meeting is, what this is looking like. It's gonna get real fun real quick. Okay, next slide, if you're okay, I can just go
Yep,
over
so yeah, up
budget.
on the budget.
All right, so 2025, 2026 tentative fiscal budget presented to the council on 5/13. That was a big meeting for the city council. They had the Whitestone development property on the agenda that day, as well as a number of Airbnb. So they presented it around 11:15 at night. There was only one person who had the gumption to stick around to make a comment about the tentative budget. So that was great. So the final budget will be presented on June 24th. There is an opportunity to interact with the city council. A couple of the big storylines are our city is a very big sales tax city. We have one of the lowest effective property tax rates in the county, and it's significantly lower. Like, there are neighboring cities that are double, triple, even quadruple property tax rate of what we have here in Orem. Because of that, we are very dependent on sales tax, which is not a fixed number like property tax is. So it makes your budgeting a little bit more wild. This year, they had anticipated a 1% growth, which was very conservative, and I don't know if we'll hit that. So looking at next year, they're even more conservative to say, can we expect anything? That obviously affects every department. Library is no exception to that. The cost of healthcare for full-time staff went up 20%. So that's one of those things where we don't add any staff and your costs just skyrocket. And then the CIP funds, the Capital Improvement Project funds, they built the new city center with no new taxes, which was incredible. But that money took the coffers of capital projects and reduced it, but I don't even know the cost of that building. 30 million? Does that sound right?
I heard 28.
28, there you go.
Close.
It reduced it a lot. And so when you have capital improvement projects, there's less money of that to go around. So those are some of the big storylines. Mike, for us, I'm just going to take us through revenue, staffing, operations, and capital overview really quick. We used to have associate librarians that oversaw programming. We now have a librarian, which is a step up. Meg Flinders-Peay, who is here with us today, is the new librarian over programming, given the scope and being in 7 places at once-ness of the job. It definitely, as we looked at the job descriptions, that felt a more appropriate level for that position. The one before that was actually Julie, who was over our digital services, is also with us today. We made that change
A year ago in February.
just over a year ago. Meg's was 2 months ago. And then this month, we also changed the makerspace from an associate librarian to a librarian. Matt Kemmerer is over the makerspace, and as we'll talk about in the part-time, makerspace hours starting July 1.
Tentatively, we're working on some staffing, hiring part-time people and developing a plan and schedule to open
But
that.
Maker will be open every hour that the library is open now. And so greatly expanding that and making it just so much simpler. It's the same change we made with Perk a year ago. When you walk into the library, there's not additional hours of operation to know.
Could be
Perk's always there, Maker's always open.
Could be postponed until the start of the school year if
Potentially.
because we're juggling a couple other things, some summer camps and workshops and anyway, but.
And then we have one vacant general reference associate librarian position. Brandon Stevens was promoted to an existing librarian position a month ago. As an internal candidate, his existing position. So that one, I think they'll look to post in the next couple of weeks. So a couple of changes there. For our part-time staff budget changes, expanding the makerspace adds about 50 hours a week of part-time staff. The programming team, we used to have 2 associates full-time with very little part-time. Now we have 1 librarian that will have 3 to 4, 4 to 5 part-time staff that will report, again, given sort of looking at the nature of our programming needs. So again, moving some money from full-time to part-time, given that we need to often be several places at once. We have what are called lead library assistants. This is a new position as of about a year ago. Collection services was first about a year ago. Programming is hiring them sort of now and ongoing. And then Gen Ref has had them for 6 months, 4 months.
4 months, something like that.
And so these are part-time staff that are typically deeper into college, looking at libraries as a career, etc., but creating sort of a promotional step up. It was hard to go from part-time all the way to a full-time job. We found that our part-time staff were not getting the look that we felt like they could be getting in those promotional opportunities. This gives them some significant leadership, an increase in pay. These staff are, in sort of like the $15 to $18 an hour range, rather than a lot of our part-time frontline staff that are in the $11 to $14 range. So it gives them a bump. It helps them promote and be prepared for full-time work, ideally with us. So we will have 11 of those across the 3 divisions by the time this is done, so funding that. We have a part-time admin assistant position that will report directly to Sharon. It's actually being split between rec and library. It will handle all cash handling protocol, change bags, cash handling, etc., across 7 different tills around the city. Sarah Pool, Lakeside Concessions, Rec Center, here, Hillcrest, making sure that our cash handling is appropriate and not being an undue burden on Sharon with the library and Shelby with rec. And then finally, our part-time pay scale. We actually haven't even discussed this with our staff. We'll roll it out on Thursday. But starting this next pay period, we are accelerating the pay increases for every part-time staff we have at the library. Traditionally, it has been a 3% bump every year-ish, sort of just like your COLA or market wage. And we found that there wasn't the opportunity to move staff forward as they get their sea legs under them and get used to the library. So we're taking 7 years worth of raises and giving them to our part-time staff at the 6, 12, or 18-month mark. And so at the 18-month mark, they will be making what they would have been making after 7 years. So it definitely accelerates it, but that better matches them getting good at library work or getting good at working with us. Someone who's been here a year and a half, they've been around the calendar, they know the stuff, they've done the training, and so we hope that this really accelerates their buy into the library and then prepares them after the 18-month mark. We hope to then really transition them to our promotional pipeline. So that will cost us, it'll be about $40,000 a year in more pay that we'll be giving to our existing staff. So it's a significant investment from the library, but we're really excited about it and think it better reflects the value that they're adding to our organization a little bit quicker. So overall, I'm thrilled that in a year where sales tax is flat and the cost of existing employees rises, we're able to allocate our money in a way that puts the most value basically to our part-time staff, our frontline staff, sort of a year after we did a lot of this work for our assistant, now associate librarians, and just trying to make sure that we're sort of responding to every aspect of the organization. Our revenues, library fines, are half of what they were 2 years ago, which we are thrilled about. We did not change any of our fees in the fee schedule. We just have moved the pendulum of how quick we are to enforce late fees, damaged books, stuff like that. So we have not changed our fees in the fee schedule. We have just instructed our staff to charge those fees a lot less. And at the first step of resistance, we say, okay, if they say my kid didn't do that, that's it. It's over. And so we just don't collect the fee. So I don't anticipate us moving towards or having the political capital to move towards being a fine-free library, but we think this is a really nice step that if someone says they didn't do it, we just accept that. And if we don't have the need to charge the fine or fee, we are glad to do that. So we're gathering about $20,000 or $25,000 less a year in those fines and fees, which we think are really expensive revenue. Those stink. And so we're happy to do that. On the flip side, we have people that are willing to pay to use Library Hall, to buy a ticket to Library Hall. We even have some things that inherit, like in the makerspace and the programming with rec. There have been library programs that we have not been able to offer because they have a significantly higher cost per participant. Think of makerspace and the materials you need to buy in to be able to do that. Without straying our library mission too far towards that, or not losing our third spaceness of being able to come here and not be asked to pay, there are a couple of specialized programs that we're now able to offer because we can collect a fee and it offsets those sort of really nice or premium library and makerspace program. So we don't plan on charging anytime soon for book clubs. We don't want a membership fee. We don't want any of that. But if you had a higher cost of something to participate, now we can offer that and keep it away from, still you can just drop by makerspace and just drop in and use the space. So yes.
Give me a for instance on what would be a makerspace fee program.
3D printing. And so you have the filament, you have to, or we have to rent certain pieces of equipment. We did
Sublimation last night.
sublimation. These are things that I don't know how I'd feel about giving a program away where we're spending $8 or $10 or $12 a person, but if we can come up with a flat fee that buys the supplies, then it feels okay to have Matt. Matt's not going to run a program at a price that like pays for his salary, or he's not adding a ton of like admin coverage on top of that. It really just says, okay, if we are given this amount of money from the city council, most of that should go towards core library services. Matt's not detracting from that amount by covering some of these costs.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? Great question. Okay, next is our operating costs. Collection development budgets. When the city did the MGT study 2 years ago, our collection development budgets were out of whack with best practices for other libraries in terms of ratio of collection budget to total budget. We have, the last 2 years, moved more money towards collection development budget. This year, I think we are $60,000 up across our collection development budgets, in addition to what we added the previous year, so that we are getting closer to that 12 to 15% range of your total budget.
So you were low originally.
We were too low. We were
Got it.
spending too much money on staffing and not enough money on the books that the staff were helping manage.
Yeah, okay.
In addition to that, we increased our programming supply budget by $22,000, and the makerspace similar. We were asking them to do a lot with very little, and now we're going to ask them to do even more with a little bit more. And so we'll see how that goes. But makerspace did not have a programming budget. Now they will have about a $20,000 budget, similar here for our programming. Finally, our capital projects, the automatic material handler is on schedule to be with us in August. We're of course completing a $2 million library renovation project. This next year, we are looking at making a significant behind-the-scenes investment in our IT infrastructure. All of our next wave of projects that you can sort of see here, it needs more internet, it needs more computers, it needs more technology. We're going to do some behind-the-scene guts of our library infrastructure so that a year or two from now, when we're ready to, expand our maker or add a new computer lab on the main floor, or, we don't have to do anything behind the scenes, it'll just be what the patrons see. That's our 2025-2026 tentative budget. It's been approved by the City Council. There's, of course, a public feedback period right now. Any questions, concerns, thoughts?
What feedback have you seen thus far, or have you seen any?
Look to my staff here if we've heard. We have 30 minutes of discussion of where that $60,000 goes so quickly.
Me.
Yeah.
I get it all.
There you go.
That's all.
Yeah, I think we're excited. The program's numbers continue to rise. Makerspace popularity is only limited by the resources we put into it. I think diversifying our budgets, we were a library that was, I think, spending 91% of our annual budget on staffing 2 years ago. And so it is always tricky to change away from that model because we didn't want people who are in current positions to have their jobs changed, but as we've vacated positions naturally through attrition or moving on or retirement, we take those funds and have reallocated. That's definitely a difficult process and I don't want to shy away from that. At the same time, I think we're to the part where it's like, oh, but now we can grow our programs, now we can grow Maker, now we can do more with Library Hall. We're adding, I think we're up $100,000 in 2 years to our collection development budget. That feels really good. That allows us to do PERT, that allows us to do some of those things. So I think it's not all roses and sunshine, but at the same time, I think it is the right thing. These were national trends. These were things that we did studies on, that we visited other libraries, and I think we're getting back to the middle with the pendulum, which feels good.
What is the Hive?
The hub is the new
Hive.
workspace for collection development. The Hive is where our program and reference teams will eventually work together in a collaborative workspace.
Because we had to have an H name.
Yeah.
Because we have the hall, and we have the hub, so we needed the haggle.
Okay, well, the other side here, I didn't know what that was.
Maybe the bees up there.
Any other questions for Bryce? Well, thank you for that, Bryce, appreciate it. Okay, Meg, thank you.
Let me get my computer plugged in. Sorry.
Go up front.
I'll just go right here so you can control the minutes. Alright, so I'm excited to talk to you guys today about our 2025 summer reading program. Like Bryce was mentioning, we have some changes a little bit this year because we're going to be under construction. So some of our big changes are that many of our events this year will be taking place off-site, which is kind of amazing because our theme this year is Color Our World. So what better year to take things out into the world? This is the Collaborative Summer Library Program theme. So we are part of the Collaborative Summer Library Program, which is a national organization that provides resources to libraries in order to run summer reading. And so yes, our theme is Color Our World. Our signups are starting on, oh, that's actually wrong. It's May 31st because that's when the kickoff is, so I have that date wrong. But May 31st, we are starting up, so we're just under 2 weeks away. We're very excited. So our patrons have the opportunity to track their reading progress and then qualify for prizes and our finale. We anticipate approximately 3,000 participants this summer. That's a little bit less than last year just because I am anticipating a little bit less because of construction. And then our long game next year is, I've already been talking to our team about how do we get those numbers back after construction is completed. And then our goals for the summer are always to encourage children and families to read over summer break, and then lessen the summer slide, which is a reading comprehension slip that happens during the break. When kids are not in school and reading and exposed to reading regularly. So this challenge is largely in place in order to combat that slide. And so the other thing that is important is developing those positive attitudes about books and reading and libraries, and then providing engaging and educational experiences for our community. And all of this lines up really well with our goal to be an experience library. So then we're using Beanstack again this year. This is I think it's our 4th or 5th year. So that's an app that we use that allows patrons to track their reading progress on their phones. We also have, this year, we're adding these little bookmarks. This is development from our marketing team because we had some requests for parents wanting their kids to be able to track, being okay using Beanstack as a parent, but wanting their kid off a screen so that instead of their kid having to be on an app, their kid can track on these little bookmarks. And it just, you can kind of pass those around if you want to take a look at them. And then their parent can then go in and mark the minutes off in the app. So that's kind of one way that we're meeting our survey feedback that we received from patrons last year. I also have these little flyers if you wanted to hand those out. And then we've got a lot of awesome programs happening this year. We've got over 30 programs that are specific to summer reading. And they kick off with our kickoff event at the Hillcrest Park this year. So we'll be doing that over there instead of here. Last year we had over 1,000 people attend, and we weren't sure where we'd be at with the timeline for construction, so we thought it would be safer to take those numbers elsewhere instead of having to funnel them in through whatever the construction might look like at the time. So we'll be doing activities there. We have special Color Our World themed story times that are run by our children's department. We have a rainbow science activity. We'll teach them how rainbows work. We're going to be doing a community art project where they'll be doing kind of a chalk the block around the sidewalk there. A couple of community booths are coming. It should be a fun time. And we'll be using the indoor space for the story times and the outdoor space for some of these activities. We'll have lawn games, lots of things. It's a lot of fun. And then we'll be capping the end of summer reading with our finale, which is on Friday, August 1st, and that will be at the Sierra Pool. So in order to go to the finale, they have to complete the summer reading program. So our another change we made this year is our 0 to 5 age group. They really struggled to complete the 10 hours of reading last year, so we found that our older readers were all getting those qualifying for their finale entrance, and our younger readers were coming the last week and we were out. And so that was kind of sad for our toddlers. So we changed the reading requirement this year so that they need to read 5 hours over the summer. A lot of that is because their parents are reading to them, so that calculates a little bit lower, and hopefully we can help more of our young readers qualify this year. And then our older readers, 6 and up, have to read 10 hours over the summer in order to qualify. So we do have supplies while those last. We have a limited number that can go into the pool just for safety, but we've done a lot of conversations about how to make sure that we can get as many people into the pool as possible. We'll be having a DJ there and doing some dance-offs off of the side of the pool, so not everyone's in the water at the same time. Just lots of kind of fun ways to make it more exciting to celebrate their reading achievements. We'll also have some tween activities that are specific to books. So we're doing Wings of Fire, which is a very popular tween series right now. I think we'll probably have at least 100 kids at that one. We did at one last year. And just a lot of other really cool things. We're doing a teen after hours called Timp Takeover, where we'll be going up to the Timpanogos Park, and the teens are taking over the park. So they get to do lots of fun crafts. They're going to build like little fairy gardens and just all sorts of fun up there. And that's run by our amazing teen intern who's been heading that program. So just lots of fun. Yes.
Is there an age limit on this? Are you talking about grade school, high school?
So there is no age limit. So this is something that's a little different. The way that Orem does our summer reading program is we want to encourage families to all read together. So we actually have an adult summer reading challenge as well. So adults, we want parents, adults, everybody to just read over the summer and encourage it, because it has such benefits for everybody, not just our kids. So we don't have an age limit because we want as many people to do it as possible. So. And then this year for the completion prize, we are getting a very special custom-made City of Orem coloring book. So I brought one that the American Fork Library did a few years ago. If you want to take a look and just kind of see, this is similar to what we'll be doing. And this is possible because different areas of the city have pitched in to help fund this, which is going to be really nice. So they kind of like get certain pages specific to their city department because they helped fund this, this really cool coloring book. So everybody who completes will earn one of these, and they'll be able to pick them up starting July. So June we won't have prize pickup because these are being custom made, so it takes a little bit of time. And then they'll be able to pick up later in the summer, which also gives us some time to figure out how that will work with the desks and the configuration that we'll be in during construction. And then they'll also get their entry to the summer reading finale, so the wristbands that will allow them to enter the pool party. And then we also have some really cool ticket prize drawings. So every badge that they earn on Beanstack, they unlock tickets that they can then enter into prize drawings, and then they can have a chance to win those. This year we have some really cool sponsored donations from local businesses. We got some really cool gift cards and just cool toys, and then we were also able to purchase some additional toys, especially for our younger age group where donations maybe aren't quite as perfect for the under 5-year-olds. So we were able to get some cool educational toys and activities. Our theme is Color Our World, so we did a lot of art-themed activities for those drawings. We got a toddler easel, those kinds of things, so it should be fun. And we wanted to get high-quality things that people would be really excited about winning. And so all of that goes into encouraging participation and to reward our community for reading over the summer. I think that's it. So does anybody have any questions about summer reading this year? We are excited about it. We're also in the planning phase of 2026, and the theme for that is Unearth Your Story. And we'll be doing paleontology, archaeology, and dinosaurs as like the theme for that one. So if you know anybody who likes dinosaurs. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meg. Any questions? This looks fun.
We're
This is always
very
so cool.
excited.
I'm gonna push this, okay.
Give it to her afterwards.
All right, I'm gonna slide it around. But I am looking at these, so I heard you say 10 hours.
So there's different ages, so
Yeah.
this
0
one
to
is
5.
age, the green one is
6
6 plus.
Right, but it's still, oh, that's a quarter, okay.
Yeah, so each
I
one's a
see,
quarter of
okay,
an
and a
hour.
half here is 15,
Mhm,
okay.
for the young
Me and
age
my
group.
eyesight. Wait a
People are already
second.
picking those up a lot, so
Are
we're
they?
excited.
Okay.
I think we'll have good participation this year.
Oh, this is fun. Great, thank you. Okay, Mike, on the care recaps.
Let me plug in here too. So that care recap might be a little misleading, but
Okay.
we're going to talk about I'm going to talk about how Library Hall and the care program work together a little bit. So as, oh, that's nice and dark.
I mean, it
goes all, gets really dark.
Look at the colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that great. But, yeah, as you know, the CARE program, Cultural Arts and Recreation Tax, is a tax that on sales tax, I believe, right? 1/10 of 1% goes to this. And then there is a committee or application process. Art groups, recreation groups in the community can apply to receive grant awards to help promote the arts and recreation in Orem. Library Hall, as we know, is a performing arts venue, and so we like that. So as the hall exists to provide access to the performing arts and events, 500-seat auditorium, we've got an art gallery, we have meeting room, lobby space, a lot of multi-use space to promote and host the arts. This can be, obviously programs and events that we put on. The community can rent these, and something that we've worked really hard for the last year or so is to find a place for our care groups who, sometimes their awards, the majority of them I think are what they would consider a smaller award that go to helping them kind of function as an art group, right? And then when the performing art groups have places that they need to go, they struggle in a lot of cases, to be honest, to be able to pay for that. Where I'm kind of talking about like some of the smaller choirs and dance groups and things. And so when they go to find a venue to perform, if they don't have a studio, which many of them don't, or a place to sing or play in, then that additional venue fee hits them, and it can kind of make or break some of these groups. And so we wanted to host them, since we're in the business of hosting programs, to find a way to get them in, since a lot of them, honestly, we worked with already. And so there was a little bit of a connection there. So what we've worked toward this past year is to make it sustainable both for us, because we do have costs, staffing, equipment, just management of the facility and the cost of functioning, but also make it a viable opportunity for the groups. And so we've been able to make a kind of a sustainable arrangement through the CARE program to where we are able to offer groups who are awarded CARE grants the use of the facility for the equivalent of like a day use at no extra fees. And so if you're a choir group, we reach out to them and say, hey, congratulations on your award. You can use Library Hall. When can we get you in? Or we start talking about that, right? And the response, I think, has been overwhelmingly positive. The benefit, obviously, to the groups, they have a nice venue to perform in, sharing their art with the community. The CARE program itself enhances its benefits to the applicants, which result in, you know, an increase in interest so you have more groups applying for it, more support, and kind of like the vibe goes up, right? The one thing that I think is often understated, it helps the care dollars stay here in Orem instead of groups bouncing to a neighboring city because they have an inexpensive venue there, and then their city benefits, you know, or our residents have to travel further, or, you know, so on and so forth. It also provides networking connections, as I will talk about here on the next slide. Some of the groups, like I said, we've worked with before, either through a library program or connection there, but others we hadn't. And then when we send them a letter and say, hey, does your dance group want to come work perform for free in Library Hall, and they're stoked, and then we sort of like get to know each other, and we're like, oh wait, that's a pretty cool event, and we start talking about partnerships. And so we've had the opportunity this last year, Excellence in the Community, they present concerts with professional musicians all over the state. These are local musicians that are housed in Utah, or that Utah is kind of their home, that's where they live, right? Their job takes them elsewhere. But in between those jobs, they're residing here in Utah. And so Excellence has rounded them up and finds places and ways to get these musicians working and performing, you know, in between their whatever day jobs, I guess. So we had this last year 4 performances. Utah Shakespeare Festival, they're another one. These are all care recipients, care groups who have won and that we have hosted. Utah Shakespeare Festival, we have a relationship with them where they give us a performance every year and put on a play that is free to the public. And this last year they did Henry IV, the previous year they did Hamlet, I think Macbeth was the year before that. They're a blast to work with, and super professional, top quality Shakespeare. Wasatch Contemporary Dance, they're a local dance company who had been renting our space for a while, and we had them come and do like small library workshops and stuff in the past. We reached out to them this last go and said, hey, what would you think about doing a partnership here? And they love the idea, we love the idea, they're a quality group. We have them on the calendar for a Library Hall Presents, like 3 performances this fall in November. So that was a partnership kind of made possible through the CARE program, and we're excited about that. Other groups that we've had, like, these are not all just Library Hall programs, because we have many events. These are just the CARE programs who have won awards. Cantorum Chamber Choir, they present as part of our holiday performance series. They're a fantastic choir. All of these are fantastic. If you haven't had a chance, check them out. Most of these we do have plans to bring back. We had them last year. In all likelihood, we'll have them again. The Thomas Cordner Memorial Pipe Band, also known as On Ruggery Dove, is a Celtic and Irish and Scottish pipe band. They're a fan favorite. They perform twice a year, a Christmas concert and then a St. Patrick's Day show. Utah Baroque Ensemble, also a big one, that has another component in addition to their holiday performance, scholarship concerts, where you get to see the kids who are literally performing, trying to win a scholarship right there, and it's just intense and awesome, and like they're fantastic musicians. Utah Valley Civic Ballet. This is another one similar to Wasatch Contemporary that we are super excited to announce. This is kind of the first announcement that we have partnered with them. They were a rental group that we also provided them a day use free for their production of Don Quixote, and we liked it so much, and they were excited to work with us. And we have partnered to bring the Nutcracker this December as part of our holiday performance series, so we're stoked about that. World Folk Fest, anyone familiar with the Springville World Folk Fest thing, where they bring multicultural events and performing arts from all over the world. Springville organizes that. We actually hosted one of their days, and it was a banger. It was incredible. Sold out, or not, packed house because it was free. But it was excellent. And great to work with there. And then Grassroots Shakespeare, who is kind of a perennial favorite around here. They have done everything Romeo and Juliet there. What was the Much Ado About Nothing was just this last year. And they're a hoot. Again, if you haven't been to a Grassroots, and they bring it all in their little box truck and they roll in, kind of like to the Utah Shakespeare. These are like road troops, and they just like show up and just like throw it out there and put on an incredible show. But yeah, these are the excellent programs and events, partnerships, opportunities that we have had here, which are presented and kind of made possible through the CARE program, which translates to the community having events and shows that they can come to. Library Hall was CARE. Anyway, that is a little bit about CARE and Library Hall. If you have questions, that was speed
That is great.
presentation.
Yeah.
We're super excited to have the program, to have the arrangement made there, because like there were some concerns of like how, because it costs a lot from our end to put on a show, just like to host a show. And so how do we break even, and then but also like make it possible for these groups, which are being funded partly by tax dollars, and the community wins. So we're just super excited. And if you haven't had a chance, check out a calendar on your show.
Oh, that's great. I remember back when I was a student, I would volunteer so I could participate at the Harris Fine Arts, whenever they had stuff there. Is that an option to have a program similar to that? So you have free to cheap staffing for some of those events?
Some of it, yeah. We use our OTLC members a lot. We have like
Orem Team Library Council.
Oh yeah, sorry. Our team intern kind of runs and operates that, and it's made up of team volunteers who host and put on and plan programs for teens, as well as do other projects around the library. And we have them help. They actually are really great at running our little concession stand out there, and they're great. They've ushered and helped us clean up and set up and all that. But yeah, we've got other volunteers that help us, like kind of docent in the art gallery throughout the day, so that we don't have to staff that, so that we can open that gallery for the same hours that the library is open for the most part. So yes, always looking to expand more though, because that's great.
Oh, I love to see what's going on at Library Hall. That's great. Okay. Well, thank you, Mike.
Yes.
Any other thoughts or questions for Mike? Good. Looks good. Okay. Julie, it's all you.
While Julie's walking up to attach it, I can maybe just lead into what we're hoping to accomplish. Spoiler alert, today and probably over the next 2 meetings, Julie is going to be walking us through the ever-shifting landscape of digital books, digital audio books, and how it's changing. There are some significant financial implications that are coming to us as libraries, which is changing our decision-making model. And the demand for these resources is exponential. And so Julie needs to make a square peg that is getting ever bigger fit into a ever contracting round hole. It's difficult. And so today, in 15 minutes, Julie will do her best to give you an overview. We'll share some materials with you. I think understanding the landscape of digital prior to asking y'all to help us make some of these decisions is important, because it is not what it seems. We buy a book, and then the book comes here, and then we own it until we get rid of the book. And that couldn't be further from how digital works.
Absolutely not.
It's an impossible amount of information to go over today, but I think maybe we give a primer, and then if we have questions at the end, or maybe we can send out some of the materials, and really we're looking to start a conversation with some significant decisions on the horizon that we would love for y'all to be a part of. How do we take finite resources for a insatiable demand that is getting more and more expensive?
You're also welcome to call me, we can talk, and I can explain things, or come in and I can show you and explain things in detail. I often say that when I have an opportunity to talk to patrons and I explain things to them, I can talk until your eyes bleed. It's really, really incredibly complicated. So I'm gonna cover some basics and then get into some details, and then maybe if you have questions, you can sort of save them for the end, so take some notes, because I'm gonna try to go through this pretty quickly. So there have been huge changes in digital resources over the past 20 years. When I started working at the library, digital resources was an electronic catalog. When people asked questions, we looked up answers in books. There was no internet, there were no phones, there were cell phones, there were no apps, okay, and there were no digital books. So the landscape has completely changed in the past 20 to 25 years. There's a huge difference between physical resources that we buy and digital resources that libraries contract with vendors to use. The same discounts do not apply. We can still get a 40% discount from a physical book vendor when we buy it. Digital resources, we often pay 5 times the consumer price, okay? So, and I'll get into that a little bit more. It's a very, very expensive offering. The costs increase annually, which makes it necessary for us to start to create a digital strategic plan. The costs rise 3 to 5% annually for all digital resources, and the budget does not go up 3 to 5% annually for what we need to buy. And so this is a foundational understanding of pricing models, different types of digital resources, so that you can help us to participate in this plan. So just briefly, we're going to talk about the different kinds of digital resources I'm talking about. Databases. So a database is a collection of structured information that's stored in an electronic format. So these are research databases, such as the Gale products provided by the Utah State Library, or learning databases like LinkedIn Learning and Mango Languages that Orem Public Library pays for independently. Most of these vary in price and popularity, and we often will sign contracts with vendors to lock in a price for a certain amount of time to kind of reduce that percentage increase per year. So I'm on my last year this year of a contract with LinkedIn Learning and with Mango Languages. And then I'll have to renegotiate a price, which will probably go up. Not probably, it will go up. Then we have things called digital book platforms. This is not Libby, which you're familiar with. A digital book platform is where we pay a certain fee to a vendor to host books that we purchase. Okay, so they can be purchased separately, like we have the Gale Virtual Reference Library that has novels for students and Shakespeare for students and other learning materials. And we have an Abdo digital bookshelf for children that's on our webpage. And so what's common with these kinds of book platforms is we pay a flat hosting fee per year, and then we pay for the books that go on that platform. Once we pay for the books, we own them forever, as long as we pay the hosting fee to have them available. Okay, so what's common with these is that they're downloadable PDF books, and multiple people can use them at the same time. So if you have people who want to look at novels for students or Shakespeare for students, we can have 100 people go in there and download entire books or chapters of books. We paid for it, we own it. Okay, a couple years ago I bought landmark cases of the Supreme Court so that any student can go in there and read about all the Supreme Court cases. Okay, it was $500 to buy that ebook. We own it forever. Okay, so that's how digital book platforms work. And then we're talking about pay-per-use and digital library collections. These are very shiny, they're very desirable, and they're very, very expensive. And they are often extremely time-consuming to manage. I work with OverDrive every single week, and I spend hours a month maintaining our collection. And so to understand how these things work, we need to talk about pricing models, because that's what we're talking is how we access and buy this material.
So we have two different ways that this works. There are pay-per-use services. This is where we contract with a service and create a deposit account. So for example, Canopy for Films. We sign a contract with them in an agreement, okay? We say how much money we want to dedicate to this service, okay? And then we created a deposit account. I give them a certain amount of money. We allow our patrons to use so much materials. Every time they check something out, ka-ching, we pay money. So if you check out a movie on Canopy, $2 every time you check out a movie, okay? So often my Canopy bill runs anywhere from $850 to $1,100 per month. I have to set that money aside to pay for that. Hoopla is the same way. It's streaming media, ebooks, audiobooks, comics, movies, music, television. Every time you check it out, it costs me. And those prices vary, anywhere from 49 cents to $1.99, which is where I've capped it, okay? So just to give you an idea of the cost, all right, we use about 34 to 38,000 items every month on OverDrive through the Libby app, okay? If we used on Hoopla what we use every month on OverDrive, okay, pay for every single item that we use, it would cost me $70,000 per month, okay? That's how expensive it is, okay? So that's pay per use. We have a deposit account, we pay for every item that patrons check out. And we can make all or parts of a catalog. With Hoopla, I have it capped at $1.99, and they have items that go up to $3.99. Our patrons never see $2 to $3.99. Doesn't even show up in the catalog. That's how I control the cost. They don't get to see the really expensive things. Okay, so some considerations. Pay per use is instant access. You do not have to wait on hold. If you want it, you can have it, okay? But there are limitations established to keep it in check. With Hoopla, you can only borrow 5 things with no waiting every month. And with Canopy, you have 14 tickets to use however you want. But when you use your 14 tickets, you have to wait till the next month when it resets, okay? The limitations can be very frustrating for patrons. However, the limitations are known and stated up front, okay? So pay-per-use provides instant access and a great variety, but we have to limit it. Otherwise, we'd have to sell kidneys to afford to use it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about digital library collections. This is what you're probably most familiar with, OverDrive and Libby. And you may have experienced some of the limitations and frustrations. This is where it gets tricky, because with Canopy and Hoopla, it's pay per use. I put the money aside, we pay when people use it. Okay, with OverDrive, I have to buy the materials. This is where I'm spending 5 times what a consumer buys. And these are single-use licenses. When you walk into the library and you check out a book, you are the person who has this book. Nobody else can read this book because you put it in your bag and you took it home. No one else can read it. Even though digital books are widely available, it's one person per license. So if I buy 1 copy of Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, which is the biggest in book right now, okay, 1 person at a time can use it. It's $60 for a book that I'm borrowing for 24 months, or $90 for the audiobook, okay? And so I have spent $1,200 on 1 title, and I have 20 copies, okay? Super expensive. We are part of the Beehive Library Consortium, which is a statewide consortium that's administered by the Utah State Library. And so we contribute funds. The state pays our platform fee, which is also very expensive. They manage our account, and we share resources. So we put money in, but we benefit because I buy 14,000 items a year, but we have over 300,000 available in the consortium. So I contribute money and buy 14,000, and our patrons benefit by 250,000. So it really benefits, but there are some challenges with working with such a large group of people. And then the OverDrive Marketplace is where we buy things. Okay, so now this is where it gets even more fun. There are 4 different ways that I can buy books in OverDrive, okay? They are not all the same. Some are better than others. 1 copy, 1 user means I buy a book, and I'm buying the book. It's not licensed. I don't have to lease it. I own it forever, okay? Now, it doesn't mean that publishers can't go and pull it from sales, which means I may have a book that I own, and then 500 people put it on hold, and I can't buy any more copies, Okay, there are still challenges, but I do own that book. Metered access means I lease a book for a particular time period. So it's either 12 months or 24 months, or I can lease it for checkouts, 26, or I can do something that's like 100 checkouts that 100 people can use at the same time, okay? And so metered by access means when the contract is expired, either by time or by checkouts, it's gone, and I have to repurchase the license, okay? I look at 150 to 300 items every month every week that have expiring licenses. And I have to decide if I'm going to repurchase them or if I'm going to let them die. And there's a lot of factors that go into that, okay? So that's metered access. Cost per circ is pretty much similar to the pay per use, where I can say, I want to make this book available, and when people check it out, I will pay for it. And we did that over the fall when we did Orem Reads with Fahrenheit 451. We made books available on a cost per circ basis so that more patrons, because we had a limited number of physical books, so more patrons could read the book and participate, and every time they checked it out, it was 99 cents, okay? And so it was a short-term solution to make books available for our patrons without having to buy a metered copy for $51.99 that only one person at a time could use, okay? And then there's something called simultaneous use, which really works well for the consortium. They've done this with Covenant Communications. They purchase their entire catalog for a year. I don't know how many thousands of dollars it costs. It's simultaneous use. Whee, it's a party. Everybody can check out as many copies as they want, okay? Generally doesn't work so well for us unless we have like a program to use, and we don't really use that model. That's really for the consortium level, okay? So these are the 4 different ways that I can purchase books. Each one has its strengths definitely and its weaknesses. I have no choice on what I'm going to get to buy. The publisher decides if it's 1 copy, 1 user. Some publishers never let us buy it and only meter it, okay? Sometimes I can only buy it for 24 months, not for 12 months. The publisher decides, I get to live with what they decide. Okay, so here's some quick examples.
On those 4 things, what's the cost difference between them?
It depends, and it varies widely. The publisher sets the price. So some books are 26 checkouts for $27.99, but I often see them as high as $52.99 now for 26 checkouts of a book. Some audiobooks, they used to be $59 when I started purchasing. Now they're routinely $79, $89, $99, and $120 for 1 copy of an audiobook. So it just depends on the title and what the publisher wants to set the price. If it's too expensive, we just won't buy it, and people will have to live without. Okay, I'm going to skip this.
The publishers are taking advantage of that. They know people don't know
Absolutely.
what's going through Penguin versus Simon Schuster versus whatever.
Yeah.
They just know we have an insatiable captive audience. And so we actually hit $130 for a title.
And I bought it.
Yeah, and you just take it on the chin.
You just take it. And so people say, well, why do I have to wait so long? Well, it's $130 a copy, and I bought 10. That's $1,300 for 1 audiobook, and it's going to expire in 24 months. So it's tricky, and it's kind of a field of dreams mentality. It's like, I have been using e-resources and teaching classes since 2011 when the State Library first came online with this. Back then it was 500 French verbs and 500 Spanish verbs and cheesy romance novels. They were really cheesy romance novels. And so and there wasn't very much on there. So we taught people how to use it and we encouraged them. Now everybody wants to use it because it's easy and they know these services are expensive. So we have created the need, and now publishers are charging for the need. So I can make this available to you. This is a really great NPR little short about why ebooks cost so much and how it works. So we can share this with you and you can watch this. I'm going to skip it now. It's very, very tempting to say, oh, well, you know what? It's too expensive. They've got you over a barrel. Just don't buy digital resources. The demand is high and it goes up 12 to 23% annually, the usage. So last year, the Beehive Library Consortium, which we belong to, was the 12th largest circulating digital library in the world. The Beehive Library Consortium circulated over 7 million items. That's up over 1 million from the previous year. Okay, so if you say, well, we're just not going to buy it, you're going to have really, really unhappy library patrons. So we have to figure out a way to balance the physical and the digital collection. We're not gonna do that. Okay, so these are just to give you some ideas. We were talking about cost. Now, I did these for a presentation I pulled these slides last fall. The prices have gone up since then. So this is a brand new book, and I'm gonna walk up here and I'm gonna show you this. So this is what I see when I go to buy a book. There's no copies listed here. This is a brand new book. It hasn't been purchased yet, okay? 24 months, one user, it costs $64.99. At the end of 24 months, goodbye. This audiobook, you see the little headphones, it tells you this audiobook will go away and I will have to repurchase it. It's a new book. It's not owned by the state library, so I'm not gonna buy it until they buy it because that causes hold issues. There are 8 people. See this little tag right here, those notify me requests? This tells me 8 people from the Orem Public Library are interested in this book, okay? And it's $64.99 to lease it for 24 months, one person at a time. Okay. This,
Is it 2 weeks, right? For 2 weeks?
you can choose 7, 14, or 21 days. But most people do return early, and most people go through things really, really quickly. Some people listen to 24, 25 items a month. Because they listen to them while they work, or they commute to work, or they exercise and they listen to it like it's just phenomenal. Okay, this is one that everybody hated me because I bought this book for our patrons. We had 5 people who wanted it. This book is $97.99, $100 for 24 months. It's an audiobook. I bought 1 copy, and there were 5 people who wanted it. These are 43 other people in the consortium who are waiting in line for my 1 lonely copy. I can tell you this, 43 people will never get through this book in 24 months. So then I will probably say, well, my people have listened to it, I checked. No more Orem Library patrons using it. Somebody else did buy a copy, so there's 2, and there's like 35 people. By the time those licenses expire, those people will never get through the whole list, and it will just die, and we'll have to cancel the holds because I'm not gonna spend another $100. Our patrons have used it, okay?
Next month, we will talk a little bit less about the money and more about how the consortium works and advantage users and how people jump the line. Our money is spent on our residents primarily, but other people can jump in, so there's another layer of confusion.
Yeah, I spent $100 for that book.
Jump
My
next
10
month.
patrons used it now, and so they're not using it, but the license is still good for another 18 months. Everyone in the consortium can continue to use it. So like I said, we benefit from sharing resources. This was a graphic novel. This one's only $14.99 for 24 months, okay? And I have 4 Orem Library patrons who are interested in it, okay? I can see that 18 people in this past year have used this book. So there's interest in it, and it's still on hold, and it's only $15. I'm gonna buy that one, okay? Because it's a young adult book, and I want kids to use it. Okay, here's one of my favorites. This is an old book, 2006, The Uglies by Scott Westerfield. Whose kids have read that book? Okay, a lot of people have read it. Okay, this is an old book. Okay, I can only buy it metered. I can't buy it to own it. It's $44 for 24 months for this ebook. Okay, I have 22 people waiting for that one book. Okay, and in the consortium, it's 237. Okay, so people are waiting to read these books, and they cost a lot of money. Okay, so let me sum up. 15 minutes. You told me 15 minutes. That's what I took. Okay, so we have physical versus digital collections. Do you want to take this, Bryce, or you want me to just go?
I just wanted to, y'all will have a copy of this. This is how our physical collection compares to our digital collection. This is how our physical checkouts compares to our digital checkouts. This is not an insignificant portion of what we do as a library, representing probably 25% of our total checkouts. And probably close to on budget and all that. So I just wanted to put some scale of what we do as a library and what Julie is talking about here. This matters. This is a core part of what we're doing right now is all I wanted from this.
Okay, and so the other thing I want to tell you is that remember that, you know, this is a lot of money and it's a significant investment every year. It gets a huge amount of usage. However, it doesn't mean that it should supplant the physical collection because some collections are much better in a physical format. Adults use e-resources probably 90% more than kids do. Kids, the parents don't want them on devices, and kids like to tactily hold books and to work with things, okay? Playaways are really, really popular with children, but not with adults. They'll use Libby, but kids will use a different format, okay? So physical collections are great for children's material, board books, kits, things that kids want to handle, early readers. Fabulous for this, less so with digital. Books with limited interest, okay? There's a beautiful nonfiction book on archaeology and a dig that Jamie went on. And it's this gorgeous book, and it costs $57. It's $120 to buy on OverDrive. We might have 3 or 5 library patrons who really want this book. It's beneficial to buy it, but it's not worth buying it in a digital format. So lower interest things are better in a physical collection. And then reader preference. Some people do not want to read a digital book. They would prefer a physical book. And we need to have all formats because we like to meet the needs of all of our patrons. Digital collections are great for reference materials. You'll see down there at the bottom where it says reference books, I have 21 databases with hundreds of thousands of resources. Canopy alone has something like 34,000 movies, and Hoopla has over 1 million titles in their catalog, okay? That's all options that our patrons have, okay? So it provides incredible access. And like I said, I can buy it and have things updated. And so it's very expensive to buy physical reference books, but it's great to buy digital reference books. And then kids can do their, oh, Mom, I forgot I need to do this paper tomorrow at 10 o'clock at night. They can access that book online, okay? So there are definitely some benefits, and that instant access is really, really appreciated. Did I finish all the numbers? Well, apparently we don't go back, so I guess we're done. I don't remember what the last slide was. But anyway, that's just a really fast, drinking from the fire hose introduction to digital resources, some of the complexities and some of the funding issues, and why we want to create this strategic digital plan so that we can balance, this emerging and growing collection, with the needs of our physical collection and try to balance that. So, any questions?
And really quick, next month we will talk about the library consortium, how we are leveraging that to get the best value, how it is adding value to our residents, but also adds some complexity to collection development standards and to the strategy. And then we're trying to identify ways to say, how long is too long on Libby? It's okay for them to wait on Libby. That's normal, that's part of waiting, but maybe we can start to set some metrics. And that's what we want to, in the third meeting, maybe towards the end of the summer or even into the fall, is what is our plan? Do we love this concurrent use? Do we love dumping money into Canopy and Hoopla? It's inefficient, but boy, is it convenient. Do we like this? And really just trying to set the stage. And so again, I asked Julie sort of a many months long commitment. I have my libraries director summit in September, and the state library will be making some significant decisions both in September and then again in December at our standalone meeting. So we have some pending decisions to be made. We are a large voice in the consortium. We want to make sure that we're representing not just what Julie thinks or what I think, but maybe what y'all as a commission think, so that we can try to tilt the scales in a way that we build something sustainable for Orem readers without accidentally sacrificing more than we thought we might, as we look at how we balance this. So again, I'm grateful to Julie and her knowledge and expertise on trying to understand this behemoth so we can have some discussions in the next couple of months and make some decisions.
I am the budget vacuum. If it's left over, I suck it up.
I have a couple of comments, and if my understanding is incorrect, please tell me, but it seems to me like we have a lot of people who are insatiable readers and they want everything. So where does the library fit into this? How much money do you have to spend to satisfy them? I would suggest they go to Barnes & Noble and buy it themselves. Or possibly, if they check out multiple books, have a fee for them to help offset the costs. Because any place else they're going to have to pay for it.
So
If it comes through the library, it's free for them, not for you.
a couple things to consider is that there are limitations on a lot of these services. With Libby and OverDrive, people just have to wait. I have a limit to what I will buy, and people will have to wait because I can only, with my budget, I can only buy so much. The second thing is we do put limitations on some of the services. You can only have this many tickets. You can only have this many borrows. So we're providing opportunities for people, but we're not providing everything. The third piece of this is that we need to educate our residents. We encourage people to use this. People have no idea, absolutely none, how much it costs. So patron education is another piece of this puzzle. How do we, let patrons know we've invested in this, we want you to use this, we're happy for you to use this, but we want you to be a good consumer of this product and realize that we can't meet all of your digital needs. Okay, so maybe you're going to have an Audible account for those things you really, really have to have, but maybe you'll use a little Hoopla, a little Canopy, a little OverDrive. Maybe you'll go and buy something, right? Or you'll just come in and get a physical book because it's faster. We need to have a really good education campaign for patrons so that they can understand the burden that we're bearing to provide this service for them. Remember that for some people who are elderly, who can't walk, who can't get around, who have vision problems, this service is critical. They're on a fixed income. They can't drive anymore. They can't get to Barnes & Noble. This is their only access to library materials, okay? And maybe they have macular degeneration and they listen to 25 books a month, okay? It's vital that we provide that for them. The other thing is that there are some people who are parent with children who they can't afford it. And so it's vital that it never used to be this way, right? We never used to have this, but now we do. And so it's vital that, like I said, we serve all of our patrons and we find a way to make it affordable and usable, but realize there are some members of our community who are underserved who really, really need this service. How do we make it work? It's tricky.
Is there any way you could mark their library card or some way, like handicapped or something, so you know that people who really benefit from it can use it as compared
What
to...
we will discuss is some controls. I think you're asking the same question to say, total unfettered access sometimes goes to the wrong spots. And so we've got some ideas for some controls, but we would want y'all to be, our goal is access. How do we build access in a way that still feels like we want you to use our stuff? We just need to get it in the right spot. So that's exactly what we'll be talking about, and what, rather than us tell you what we think you should say to us to do, we sort of want to try to ask some open-ended questions to say, how many books at a time should we allow? Should we police people that have 2 library cards from 2 different libraries so they get twice as much? Should we go hard after the demand side rather than the supply side? How much money, you asked, how much money to spend on an insatiable person?
Right.
Exactly. We're not going to get to zero. We're not going to get to the point where we open the library and they're like, you know what, we're good. We've read enough. So let's find that number, that bandwidth. And again, I would love to hear from y'all at the end of, over these months, rather than us tell you what we think. That would be our goal from...
If Sharon shares this with you, there's that NPR video, and then there's also this article, The Real Cost of Digital Content,
Yes,
ebooks and
would you share
audiobooks, that you can read through that covers a lot of the same material that I have covered. Like I said, you're welcome to call me, and I can talk to you until, you fall asleep. I've done that to some people. My husband said, are we done now? Can we please be done? But I'm happy to explain it, or go over it some more.
Well,
So-
patrons need to know that. I have no idea it was that expensive to get books. and
Yeah,
things,
so we
and
do
if
need
patrons don't
better.
know that.
I did write a blog for a post for the library blog that explained
It
like
performed very well.
It's fascinating science. There's an art to how we divvy up this money, and I think there are people that would be more conscious users, but we also don't want the message to be
Don't use it.
Use us less.
Yeah. And just-
that's not
and-
good either.
Just so you know, several East Coast states have filed lawsuits against publishers saying that they're monopolizing and they're making it difficult and
Right.
it is a barrier to access the cost that they're charging. There's authors' rights, but there's also publishers are in it to make money. I think that they're making too much money, but the thing is that none of these lawsuits have been successful. In every case, it's been ruled, an open market thing, and states have not been allowed to impose any kinds of controls on publishers, so that libraries don't have to pay these astronomical costs. So just keep that in mind, is that legally there doesn't seem to be a lot of recourse at this time.
Don't support them. Money talks. If you
Well-
don't buy it, they go out of business.
That's
But
true.
you have to support
That's true.
it.
And legal things that are happening, with the trying to less funding for the the IMLS, the Institute of Museum and Library Sciences, that's currently occurring. A large portion of the money that state libraries use to operate comes from block grants from the Institute of the Museum and Library Sciences. If all of that money disappears, then the majority of the money that the state uses to fund databases and OverDrive also disappears. So,
And on that note,
okay, so aren't I just a chipper person to bring? I'll never get invited.
Julie, thank you for explaining that. I know we had a little taste of it last meeting.
We
but
did,
this
a
was-
little bit, but we've got
This
better.
is really good. That's a lot to wrap your head around. And it sounds like you're told what you're choosing in some case. It's not like you can pick which is the best way to buy.
And I pretty much just buy holds, requests,
Yeah.
new books, And
Wherever the demand is, that's where you're
wherever
gonna
the
go
demand is, I
look
try
at
to
it.
keep classics on there. I try to keep children's, like I always make sure that like things like The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe,
Yeah.
you know, they expire every 12 to 24 months and I have to rebuy them. I can't buy them forever, even though it's like a children's classic. And so, but I do try to keep, like I just paid for the Wrinkle in Time ebook and it was $42.99 for 24 months for the Wrinkle in Time. You know, and so, but I do try to keep classics around, but a lot of times it's just holds new books.
Well, thank you for all you do. That's a lot of work. Any other things that we want to discuss before we adjourn? Questions?
I've said enough.
You said, Nancy, you're great. You're great. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn. I second it.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Aye.
Sharon, our next meeting,
July 15th,
we'll see y'all
And
in
we-
July.
and we should be in the new building.
Woo.
We should also, I think this council meeting will get two reappointments and 2 new members to the commission as well. So hopefully we're back to a group of 7 by
Good.
July. So
You
we'll see.
said, oh, so this coming.
I think
next
so.
Council meeting. Okay.
I think so. So staff done with our
Sometimes it
portion. I
helps
don't
with the
know.
physical book,
Sometimes.
because the last
those
book I
conversations
looked at
take
it
a little
living
longer.
at 22. Oh, I think that's good.
Well, and that's sometimes people say, well, I